Morning, my friends. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to do a little bit more of this fishing village while I have my morning coffee. How are you guys doing? What's new? What's in the news today? I've only been awake for a little while, and my wife, Lindsay, she went to work really early this morning, so I was up with her, but I wasn't exactly conscious. Like, I was just like, she got up at like 4:30 or something because she needed to be there at 6, and when she got up, it just woke me up, and I thought I would just, hang around her while she got ready, and then she left, and then I came back to bed and then just fucking crashed. And I just looked at my Facebook page this morning. It just I don't know. It's just not good for your health to see the cringe on Facebook, because it's like, and I'm not saying that Twitter or anything else would be much better. So honestly, it's all terrible right now. Mostly what people are saying. I mean, yeah, what's happening isn't great either, but what the people's justifications for this shit that's happening is driving me up the wall. Zerax, what's that? Iron Adam John, hello. Zerax, hey, Iron Adam John. Project Veritas released their Antifa infiltration video. Oh, really? Oh, shit. I saw the teaser yesterday. But, yeah, I hadn't watched it. Great indoors. Excuse me. Great indoors. Good morning. Alright. Well, I'm definitely going to check out that Antifa thing. I was thinking about making a video. This does not open from this side. Okay. I had a feeling that was going to be the case. So this, my guess, I'm going to predict that this lamppost, which is basically like the bonfire, this is the only other lamppost in this map, in this area. And that through this door, I see that there's an elevator that probably goes to the final boss, the Orphan of Kaz. That's my guess. So I gotta basically go a roundabout way to get to that point, so that I can fight the boss at the end. So just looking to see what's over here. I see another gate. Also does not open from this side. Alright. So, yet another way to get in. You should mix the cringe with some whole milk to make it more soggy. I think this is the world that you live in when there's like no I don't want to say like no masculinity, but it's like a lack of backbone, maybe, or I don't know. Is the moon. So HBO is coming out with a new series called Lovecraft Country. The sky and cosmos are one. There it is. That's where the boss fight is at. I'm fairly positive, because that looks like Cause. Fear strong foe, but remember beast transformation. Something over there too. It's like right over there. I can't look at it. I wonder if there's other people doing this part that need help. Misguided masculinity. Misguided masculinity, perhaps. But alright, I'm in somebody else's game. I can kind of like get an idea of what's going on now. I don't know where this other player is. Maybe he's back this way. I think I hear him. Aha! Okay. Oh yeah, this is the Orphan of Cause here. I'm fairly certain. So there are people like trying to fight him. Oh, shit. guy reminds me of Slave Knight Gale. Except he's fighting with a placenta, but you know. Ouch. Now he's powering up. Whoa! Wow, that is one angry embryo. Brian, have you considered New Hampshire because of the Free State Project? If you look up their website, they have a link to rental places. I did not consider New Hampshire. It sounds a little too... Well, I guess I don't know what... Look, my main concern is how it's run. I don't know if New Hampshire is like a low taxes state or, you know, whatever it is. So, and I think because of that, those are like that's the thing that I'm looking at, you know, like cost of living, crime rate, the size of the city. I think I'd like to live in a place not a fucking podunk town, but like some place that has a lower population than Chicago. Maybe a million, 2 million people. Well, 2 million is probably too high. Like 1 million people, you know, somewhere in that ballpark. And yeah, cost of living, I think I may have already said that. Taxes and jobs, you know. Okay, let's go. He's fighting the cause too. So the Orphan of Cause is basically like this living after birth, and comes out of the dead body of this ancient god Cause, which is basically like an old one. Wow. Wow. And the Orphan of Cause fights with its placenta, which is that weapon. Oh shit. This guy's a lot a better player than the other guy was. Uh-oh. I spoke too soon on that one. What's wrong with podunk towns? Well, I'm a city boy. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it. I gotta go back to the Hunter's Dream and get my I gotta get my blood vials and bullets back. So yeah, I don't think I could do that. I just don't want that drastic of a change, and I think to do my job I need like a decent internet connection. That's why I have a fiber connection here in Chicago, which gives me like a crazy high speed so that I can do the show. I mean, I don't really need a fiber optic connection to like play video games and watch movies online, you know. But if I'm gonna host live streams, I'm gonna need like a really good connection, so I got that for that reason. In really small towns, it's gonna be difficult to get a good connection. Another thing about that is, you know, we don't have a car, so you need a car to like, if you're gonna live in a really small town, to basically just like exist, like so you can go shopping, so that you can go to the doctor, so that you can, you know, basically just run any errand. Requires you to drive pretty long distances because what's in your immediate area is insufficient. And I don't have a car because in the city you don't really need one. I mean, I want one, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not in a position to buy a car right now because what I make at Honey Badger Radio is just enough to keep us afloat. It's not like I'm not raking in the dollars. I'm below the poverty line. And the other thing is, if I'm in like a medium-sized city, doesn't have to be really big, like Chicago or New York or whatever, Boston, but it could be, I don't know, like about as big as, say, Indianapolis. It's not really that bad. Or, I don't know, I'm trying to think. But like if I live in a medium-sized city, then I can basically have all of those needs met without having such a high population that it basically attracts the Democrat politicians, and the high crime rates aren't there because there's few enough people that in your community people know who you are, you know, and you probably also know your local police force, you know, like the individual members of it and stuff like that. Like that's what I think would be the sweet spot. I think that you can get to a point in a population size, or density, more accurately, density, that it's ripe for exploitation politically to create all of the kind of, you know, all of the problems that big cities like Chicago and New York and LA have. And the way I see it, if it's a smaller population, a smaller density, without like becoming like you know, a shire or a hamlet where I can't access anything. Another thing is that not only do we need like all of these amenities, but Lindsay has very specific dietary needs, like foods that lots of things that she can't eat, lots of things that she's avoiding for health reasons. And so we have to be in a place that can accommodate those dietary needs. So we need to be not so cut off that we can't access it, and all there is like, you know, one grocery store, and they don't accommodate us, and we have to drive like, you know, who knows, like 6 hours out to like get food. It's just not feasible. So let's see if this lighthouse hut, that must be where I'm going. I live in one of those podunk towns. Well, I don't mean to insult anyone by saying that. Manchester is North New Hampshire's biggest city with approximately 100,000 people. 1 million plus cities will be democratically run almost by definition. Yeah, I mean, for some, the Free State Project is a political migration movement founded in 2001 to recruit at least 20,000 libertarians to move to a single low population state in order to make the state a stronghold for libertarian ideas. Wow, that does interest me. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Not gonna lie. Let me see if I can help somebody else out. I don't really want to fight the orphan of cause. I want to see like more of what's coming. But if that's just what happens, just what happens. I want to know what's over here too. This way. One of the things about the bell that I'm not crazy about, the way that you do the multiplayer here, is I think so like in Dark Souls, when you're trying to like engage in co-op, you basically put your sign down, and wherever you put your sign down, so if I was playing Dark Souls, I might like put it right here, and wherever you put your sign down, other people will see your sign, right? And so when they summon you, that's where you're going to spawn. That's where you're going to appear in their game. And you know where you're going to appear in their game. And you know that they're going to be near your sign because they had to touch it to see you. In Bloodborne, you ring a bell. You ring a small bell to join other people's game, to help them. And you ring a beckoning bell, which is a bigger bell, to hopefully get people to join in your game. Right? And the problem is that the bell, I think it just has like an it's like it radiates out in an area close to where you are. So if other people are ringing their bell and you're ringing your bell, and it happens to be like that you're I guess the circles of the ripples of where the what your bell affects, if they happen to touch another person's bell, then you can like bring them into your game. But the problem is that so if I like move further on into the story, like into the game, then I move away from here, even though I rang my bell here, but the bell doesn't stay where I rang it. It follows me. So wherever I go, that's where I think that's how it works. So the problem with that is that when you enter another person's game, you don't know where they are and they don't know where you are, because they just happen to like, you guys just happen to bump uglies, basically. So, I messaged you on Discord regarding the Free State with links. Are there other states that are using this program, or is it just a New Hampshire thing? Zerang says, despite the turmoil coming out of there and Karen Whitmer being governor, Grand Rapids, Michigan was somewhere I'd consider. I think no state income tax and low cost of living. Grand Rapids. Is it anything like Detroit? Because I don't want to live in a Detroit. Yeah, and Whitmer's a fucking... Holy shit. That woman is just out there. I think that governors and mayors who typically don't get involved in federal politics because they're just trying to hold on to like their little state, I think they're becoming more politically charged now, because I think they see opportunities to like go up the ranks by joining in on the orange man bad bullshit. I don't know. I think that they're actually grasping at power too. I think that obviously they wanted that, but I think they're basically becoming more vocal, because this Trump derangement syndrome, it is like just way beyond the pale at this point, especially with everything that's going on. I gotta tell you, I can't believe that there are still people that are, and I mean these aren't politicians per se, but I'm sure the politicians are you know, in on this as well, and they're, you know, making this a thing. But they're like all over this fucking Trump holds a Bible picture. They're like losing their minds over this. Like, people like are just completely off the rails, and I'm flabbergasted. I thought these people, like, these are people that I consider to be my friends, and I am shocked that they have just abandoned all reason. It's just gone. And all I can say is, it has something to do, I'm telling you, it has something to do with what we have done to masculinity. We have, because I think that stoicism and reason, you know, and like being reasonable and basically like thinking things through, and I think that those are masculine things, and I think that we've just thrown them out. You know, I don't think this game is supposed to be a horror game, but they certainly do, like, sell it. I gotta tell you. Wait, what the fuck?
Unending death awaits those who pry into the unknown.
Okay. Thanks for that, Great Indoors. I have no idea. I didn't even check which party runs the area when I saw the info. I need to also look at policy of the last 3 or 4 administrations in any state I plan to move to. Toby Alting, it's sensationalist reactionary behavior. Virtue signaling turned up to 11, not specifically emotional or related to masculinity. Well, I think it is, because I think that I know this is like, because I know that people are going to say, well, you know, being rational isn't like exclusively masculine behavior, you know. But I do think that it is a behavior that it is a behavior that is expected of men. Because men's value comes from their ability to be... I gotta fight this asshole again. And women have a masculine side too. So this isn't about... When I say masculinity, I don't mean men. he's blocking with that? Okay. So I can go down these stairs. These hooded figures, don't want to deal with them. Let me see what you guys are saying. Don't disagree per se, just thinking it more broadly, you can see the signaling being crucial to those who do it as a means to form connections. Stoicism is used like a dirty word by leftists. It would be like saying honor was a negative male trait. Yeah, I'm talking about it. Look, okay, let me put it this way. And I was thinking about making a video about this on my channel, my other channel. I want to put this into words, and I think that some recent events make it very clear of what I'm saying and the danger of this, but I think that this is the direction we're going in, okay? We have a fatherlessness epidemic that is far more dangerous than any virus or any presidency or administration, or even of any political movement, in like communism, for example. The only reason why communism is happening is there are people that are pushing for it so much. It's not just that there are academics, entertainers, politicians, and media figures in the press and so on that are pushing for this stuff, okay? That are agitating for revolution. It's not just that, but it is a product of this fatherlessness, of this bad parenting that has produced children that never grew up, which is why they're so annoying, which is why they reference Harry Potter, which is why they color their hair purple, right? They never grew up. They've stayed in a state of childishness, and they have been told that that childishness is acceptable. And this is a product of fathers missing, masculinity abandoned, okay? And basically an excess of the feminine and emotional. Because the desire for communism is universal, but it is not rational at all. And it's going to result in many, many deaths. And the people who do this are just saying, I want stuff. Daddy didn't give me this thing when I was a kid, and I still want it, right? And this applies even to rich kids. Rich kids that often become Antifa communists because they feel like capitalism is to blame for the fact that they don't have a strong connection to their parents. And I know that for sure because I know a guy, I won't mention his name, but he is someone who has been a regular on Honey Badger Radio, and he is the child of rich parents, and he blames capitalism for the fact that he doesn't have a connection to his parents because they're at work and they're not raising their son, and they weren't there for him, and so he blames them, okay? And it is a childish ideology. And to sort of drive it home, well, let's look at the riots, okay? George Floyd was a drug addict. He made a porno movie. He is, he had a criminal record. He pointed a gun at a woman's belly and threatened her while they robbed or they mugged her or robbed her house or something like that. He is a criminal, okay? This doesn't mean he deserves what happened. This is just to explain that George Floyd getting choked out by a cop did not come from nowhere. He made a series of life choices, a series of bad life choices that ultimately led to being in this position. And that includes, if you go by like the, the stuff about his autopsy is all over the place, right? So even if you were to say, well, no, he died from underlying health conditions, whatever. Well, he made life choices that led to him having underlying health conditions, right? He made a series of life choices. George Floyd was a human being with agency and accountability for his actions, and they culminated in this moment, those choices, okay? I'm not exonerating the policeman. This is not about that. I'm looking at George Floyd's situation specifically. He made a series of life choices that led to his death. I'm not saying it's his fault it happened. I'm saying the choices led to his death. Does that make sense? You know the difference between those things? Okay? Now, Daniel, I can't remember the name of the cop, but there's another black man. It's not Daniel Dutton, but I'm going to find out. Hold on a second. There's a black cop. He had been on the force for many, many years. He was 77 years old. And, hold on a second. I'm going to tell you in just a second. I apologize. I know that you guys probably know his name, but I have to, know it myself. You know? David Dorn. That's it. David Dorn. Okay? 77 years old. Police officer. Police captain. Was on the force for multiple decades. If he's 77 years old, that means that David Dorn was a cop in the 1960s. In Missouri. Okay? So, we're talking about he was a cop during the civil rights movement. A black cop. Now, I don't know his experiences, okay? But that man also made a series of life choices. He made a series of choices just the same, okay, as George Floyd did. And that resulted in a long life, because he didn't die until he's 77, of being father, grandfather. He was present. He was on the police force. He had friends. He must have had, he retired, so he must have done well, okay? Despite all the stuff that he had seen. Despite everything he probably saw as a 77-year-old man that was on the police force during the civil rights movement in the South. Okay? When the riots happened, they happened because of the death of George Floyd. But they resulted in the death of David Dorn. And what happened? David Dorn made a decision, despite his age, to go out and help his friend who owned a pawn shop, because he cared about his friend enough to do that, to put himself at risk. And he was killed by the people that he had protected when he was in the police force, the same community. And as he lay there dying, because someone wanted to steal a television, the man who was the most sympathetic to the situation at the moment could only film him so that he could stream it to Facebook Live. Okay? He didn't even go to him and take his hand, talk to him personally. In David Dorn's final moments, he was laying there bleeding, looking at his community burn as people were looting and rioting, and one young black man was filming him die. That's what he saw at the end of his life. That's what he saw. And when it was all said and done, who did the media lionize? Who has murals painted of them? Who has t-shirts made with their name? Who's basically written all over the internet, plastered like a hero all over the internet? The drug addict that resisted arrest, that had committed a crime. He was a criminal. Okay? I'm not saying he deserved to die, but I am saying that he was a criminal. And this, the worst part about this is, okay, Black Lives Matter, the media, the politicians, the entertainers, Antifa, the woke activists, okay, my dumbass friends on social media, they do not acknowledge David Dorn as an example of a tragedy that has befallen black people. They see George Floyd as that example. You know what that says about black people? They think that the average black person should relate to George Floyd and not David Dorn. That means that they believe the average black person is more like George Floyd, the drug addict, porn star, criminal with underlying health conditions who made nothing but bad life choices, or at least mostly bad life choices, than David Dorn, the hero. And I say he's a hero because he didn't have to go out there at 77 to help his friend at the pawn shop, but he did, and he paid for it. Of course, he probably would say that he knew the risks, right? This is what I mean when I say Black Lives Matter doesn't care about black people, because they actually present George Floyd as the normal for blacks while ignoring David Dorn. And this is why I can't stand people who are anti-cop irrationally. You can be critical of the way things are run. You can be critical of your politicians. You can be critical of the laws, because not all laws are necessarily moral. I get that, okay? You can even be critical of police, because we give them a tremendous amount of responsibility. But they don't deserve this shit. In fact, sometimes I don't think that people deserve to have police based on the way they act. So, like, think about that. Think about that. George Floyd is a hero to these people. And David Dorn gets nothing. Or Daniel Dorn, I'm sorry. Is it David Dorn? I get them mixed up. It's David Dorn, yeah. And I was talking to Lindsay about this too. I said that the way in which David Dorn went out versus the way in which we talk about George Floyd is an example of how we've killed the hero, like the hero archetype, right? The aspirational itself. He's symbolic of that. This is why I'm a Comicsgate supporter. I know that people's view on heroism itself is completely distorted. What are virtuous qualities? David Dorn had them. George Floyd may have had them, but that's not the reason why people are celebrating him. They're not honoring that. I don't know. I'm not saying he was a bad guy. I don't know. And I'm not saying that Dorn is himself an angel. I don't know. I'm sure that they're humans and they're complex, but it's the way in which what we choose to like celebrate and not is indicative of why we're in this position. We don't see David Dorn as worthy of the same amount of grief as George Floyd. We just don't. And he's going to disappear in the memory hole. David Dorn's going to disappear in the memory hole. And there will be murals. I promise you, if they don't already exist, there will be murals of every single black criminal that was killed by a cop. And they will be treated as though they are the saints. And they are basically telling the black community that these people represent them. And people like David Dorn don't. So, without reason, you can't determine the difference between moral and immoral. And we have no reason. We've lost it. We've completely abandoned reason. This is why we're basically like a failed state. We're basically a failed state now. So it may be time to find a place to flee to where people don't want you dead because of your political beliefs, or because you want to exercise your reason, because you believe in non-aggression, you know, because you believe that people's property matters. So, all right, let me see your comments. Guaranteed safety, guaranteed sameness, expectations of all needs and wants met, communism. Killed for a fucking television. Yep. He might have made it to 80 years old. He probably would have. When Dom was the same age as Floyd, he probably had living grandparents that knew the slavery BLM shout about. Let me see. If he was 77, yeah, he may have, or at the very least, I would guess, and I don't know, I gotta talk to some very old black people that may have, like, been through it. But I think that the fear, I think the fear of racism, not racism itself, the fear of racism is higher today than it ever was. Even during the time of slavery, even during Jim Crow, even during segregation, even during the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. I bet the fear of racism is higher now than real racism ever was. And I think it's due to the fear-mongering. I think that, I honestly believe that, and I bet if I talk to someone that can actually look back on history, that their history, or maybe their, you know, if they know their parents' history or whatever, they can probably, like, if they are honest and they're reasonable, I bet that they would agree with me. While filming him, the guy didn't hold Don's hand like Brian said. Yeah, he just sat there and said, hang in there, and just kept on streaming. He just kept on streaming. And we all watched this man die. The world, well, whoever saw it, because the media didn't fucking report on it, Trayvon, etc., all thugs. You pick them because they can be sensationalized. Yeah, but it's important to point out, though, because I've heard this argument being made. The media is not picking these people. They're not doing these stories for money. This is not about money. This is not about clicks. So please stop saying that. The people in the media are activists. They want political action. They want revolution. They want control. They want to control the narrative. That's not about money. Because if it was, if the only thing they were doing was following like the blood trail, they would report on every single murder with the same amount of sensationalism, because it would keep people glued to the screen at new developments. They have a narrative because they are themselves communists, or at the very least they're sympathetic to the left and they want to promote their narrative. This is not about money, so stop saying that, because it's not true. If it was, they would be doing reporting differently. The time has passed trying to have a debate with the left. I learned more from people on the right talking among themselves. Yeah, well, you know that it was Jonathan Haidt that said that the right understands the left's arguments far better than the left understands the right's arguments. And I think it's partly because a lot of people on the right were on the left when they were younger, and then they kind of grow out of it. So, but they also try to understand the arguments. BLM was never about blacks. It's just about using them to gain power. Yeah, they're socialists. They're Antifa. They're just black Antifa. They just prioritize race over class. But there's really no difference. They're both like illegitimate as fuck. Like I keep seeing people who I like that are basically like, it's not about racism, it's about classism, and I'm like, you're still an asshole. You're still an asshole. Who cares? Who cares about that? You still want to divide people. You just don't like that they're dividing them amongst race, because if they do, then you're basically the oppressor. So you, because you're poor, you want to make rich people the oppressor so that you can avoid blame. You're part of the problem, dick. You're part of the problem. Zarang says, well, that's what's been pushed for decades, Brian. We're supposed to align with those doing the wrong things. If I say this to other blacks about black on black crime, they ask, why don't I mention the good black people? Well, the majority of black people are good, but black on black crime is, you know, obviously a real problem. Hey, he needed to say 6 feet away. Remember, otherwise Dorn might have died from the coof bacteria. Yeah, I heard that, I did hear that some reports say that George Floyd actually had coronavirus and he was diagnosed positive for it in April, and it might have contributed to his death. And people are so mad about this. Like, the left is so mad because they think that essentially it's like, you know, oh, they're going to avoid blame and, you know, all this. But they were the same motherfuckers telling people to stay inside so they don't kill grandma. So if it is true, what's going to happen? More riots, that's what. If it comes out that George Floyd actually, like, died in part due to COVID, people are going to lose their shit. Even though it's probably not going to result in, like, you know, that cop getting, like, pardoned. That's not going to happen. So, that cop, I'm telling you, those cops, even if a bunch of evidence came out that exonerated those cops completely, like that showed that, you know, what happened was just kind of like not necessarily police brutality or whatever. Like, even if they had strong evidence to support the police in that situation and they could, like, get off, they won't. They won't. Those cops are going to be a necessary sacrifice. And I'm not saying that I agree with that. I don't. But this is where we are now. We have to appease the mob because we can't actually give people justice. Oh, I already rang the bell. Right? Because if we do, then they're just going to throw another... It's like a child throwing a tantrum. That's why I described it that way. A child throws a tantrum so that they get what they want. If you give them what they want, then they learn that throwing a tantrum is how they get what they want. So they'll throw another one the next time you don't give them what they want. And so and this is why I say we've abandoned reason. Because we're at the point now where we're just doing what we need to do to keep people from destroying everything. So, like, this whole situation is fucked because you can't... this whole situation is fucked because there's no way to do this right without invoking the mob. It's impossible. And that's just what's going to happen. Unfortunately. This guy's got like 2 forks. Like, are those seafood forks? Let's see. Is it time to set up Ancapistan? Nah, we're not ready for that. And caps and libertarians that really want to create like like you can like have libertarian values, which I do, and I think that they are a good set of values to have. But libertarians that use their libertarianism, like I've seen Yaron Brook and a couple of other people like use this situation to like essentially say, see, if we had libertarianism, this wouldn't happen because blah, 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 fucking cops are guerrillas. Blah, 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 blah. And the thing is that the libertarians that say that, and I say this as someone who I agree largely with libertarian values, they're not living in reality. They're living in their theoretical world. And one of the reasons why libertarianism will probably never become a reality, like a libertarian state will never become reality, do you know why? Because they haven't answered the woman question yet. It's like every other person that has like utopian visions on how things could be. Some of them, like David Schmachtenberger, he's completely insane, okay? Like what he's proposing is fucking stupid. But it's also unrealistic because he hasn't answered the woman question. But libertarians, it's a lot more, it's not stupid, but it's definitely like not immoral. They still haven't answered the woman question yet either. And so they're not gonna get what they want. They're never gonna get that if they don't answer the woman question. So get Thomas Sowell on a fireside chat. I'd love to, but Jesus Christ, you know how hard that would be? I would love to get Thomas Sowell on. Work your shipwreck Mexican voodoo. I got lucky with, I have a feeling I got really lucky with guys like Owen Benjamin and Roaming Millennial, and I didn't even get Jordan Peterson. That was Karen. But I think it was Karen. But I am going to try and get Stefan Molyneux on, because he's like been through this whole mess. I think he's been probably the most on point in terms of like trying to remain realistic, because I see this universal condemnation of the police, and it's coming from everywhere. And I don't think things are that clear cut, but people are going to, and the problem is that when you like give the left that, it's like a gimme. When you say, oh yeah, this was clearly racist murder, there's like no fucking way that that's the case. Police brutality, yeah, maybe. An excessive use of force, sure, I could see that. I'm not against that argument. I think that we can definitely explore it. But we shouldn't say anything for certain without knowing, for one. And secondly, there's no way it's racist. There's no way you could prove that. You'd have to prove intent. That's why there's no way it's murder. Because you'd have to prove, like, essentially it'd have to be premeditated, and there'd have to be motive and intent. And that doesn't make any sense. Because Floyd knew the guy. Like, they worked together in the past, okay? There's no way that that's the case. You're telling me that those cops went to police academy, okay, for as long as it took them to become cops, then worked on the force. I think that the guy, I don't remember his name, but Shivlis or whatever, he worked in that neighborhood as a police officer for like something like 13 years. So he worked in a black community for 13 years because he's so racist. And he was just waiting for the right moment to use his power to kill a black man in broad daylight in front of everybody on camera because he's a racist. That doesn't make sense. Do people do irrational things that don't make sense? Sure. But that is a very, very weak argument. And I don't think that you could ascribe racism to that. And that's why, by the way, Black Lives Matter is deflecting. I don't know if you know that, but some people in BLM are deflecting, and they're basically saying, oh, no, it's not. It was never about just race. It's just about police brutality. And this is just an example of that. That's them saying, okay, the race narrative is falling apart because it doesn't make sense. Because it almost never makes sense. So we're going to do this instead. And this came right after, by the way, the Ahmaud Arbery thing fell apart. Because they wanted that to be the thing that caused the riots. Antifa and Black Lives Matter and other like leftist, woke, activist types, they just want a revolution. They just want a revolution, and they want to make sure that the majority of America is behind them. Otherwise, they may find out just how small they actually are, okay? So in order for that to happen, they need an event that is significant enough that they could get normies to take their side. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. Now, of course, what Antifa and these other organizations don't know is they have the media, they have Democrat politicians, they have Hollywood entertainers, they have musicians, they have academics, but most of those people are pussies that won't actually put themselves at risk. Like I'd say 90% of them won't do it. So they got to do it themselves. At the end of the day, if anyone's blood is going to be spilled for the revolution, it's going to be the members, basically the foot soldiers, right? The disenfranchised, angry, young kids I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm always weary that there's gonna be a fucking ambush of some kind in these games, because they're always placing enemies to ambush you. But it looks like, so far, it's not really an issue. See what happened to that guy. I'm gonna go kill that dude. What is that? Oh. Okay. It's a ladder. What? I didn't see that before. And this is... Yep. Okay. Back in here. Good. Making progress. Alright, let me look at your comments. Sensationalism is a tool of persuasion. The right think the left is wrong but honest about their beliefs. The left believe the right are lying about their beliefs. Leftists are always telling you about your secret motivations. Yeah, the academics have done a really great job in convincing young leftists that right-wingers are evil. That's actually the condemnation. It's not that they're wrong. It's that they're evil. And they secretly want to essentially ruin your life, right? You're just like a bad person. Beware of ambush. Okay. Nothing but execution here. Ah, man. 9:43. Iron Adam John. Of course, leftists cannot accurately describe right-wing ideas when they think they are lying all the time. Yeah. And everything's a dog whistle. Everything's a dog whistle. Black on black crime, that's a dog whistle. It means something racist. I don't know. What? Wait. Oh. Oh, right. Okay. And that's how they basically, oh yeah, this person is signaling this thing, right? Unbelievable. I don't like the look of this shit. I don't see any enemies though, and that's kind of worrying. Status effect? Oh. Okay, those are enemies. Okay. Let me see what you guys are saying really quick. What's cool to virtue signal these days? Hey, Deadly Do Right. You'd have to interview him face to face. He doesn't do interviews online. Voter ID is a dog whistle. It is. Dave Smith has been saying that the cop who killed George Floyd did it because he was on a power trip. Where did he get the evidence for that? I don't know. I think it was manslaughter. Yeah, I think that it was... The thing is that, you know... I think in most of these cases, it is manslaughter. Okay, so some of these are empty and some of these have bitches inside. Yeah, I knew it. Occupied. Oh shit! Get the fuck off me, bitch! Hold on. Okay, well, now I know what they do. Damn it, nigga! A little too gung-ho there. Oh, they do a lot of damage. Odd arcane damp blood gem. There's nothing else here. They're huggers, yeah. I'm sure that some of those are woke shells. You know what? I have a better solution to this problem. Bloodstone waits ahead, but reeks of malformed thing. Bloodstone chunk? Sorry, bitch. Alright. I gotta quit here in a bit. Like 10 minutes. I don't know. Should I make a video about it? What I could do is I could just like cut out the audio conversation, like this part, and make that into, there's a ladder, make that into the video itself. Oh wait, what the fuck? Oh, I went the wrong way. I'm supposed to go this way. No, bitch. Don't even. I'm not fucking with you. I hear a bell. Show your white mug on camera as you do. Whoa! Somebody came out of their... Somebody came out of their shell. The fuck? Did you see that? Another chunk. Good shit, son. Oh my god. What does that say? Lure is effective. Bitch. Bitch. Fuck. Gotta fight this nigga again. Hunter of hunters, therefore behind you. Let's go, nigga. What?
Death awaits those who pry into the unknown.
God damn it. Hey, Zero, what's up? For whom the bell tolls. Yeah, that's kind. I think that's the idea. Let's go this way and here. Bye, niggas. Another. It's gonna climb down the ladder after me. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. I fucked up on that dude because I didn't want to use a bullet to kill him. So I'm just gonna like not do that. For some reason he blocks your attacks and there's no blocking in Bloodborne, so it's just kinda like, the fuck is this shit? Alright. Let's go. Let's go! Damn, dude, do you have stamina? Look at that, look at that tiny bit of health he's got left. Nah, I'm not fucking around. Tired of your shit. Now I'm taking your pants. Alright. Keep going now. Whoa! This purple shit. It's 9:58. I'm gonna have to quit anyways. I'll come back to this. I'll do more tomorrow or something. I'm at 166,000 blood echoes. Well, now that I've beaten that guy, that he shouldn't respawn, so I could probably just head back and save there. I mean, these cunts aren't that bad. They're grabby as fuck though, man. They do a lot of damage. That's kind of unreasonable. Slapping me on the calves, I've never seen that do so much damage before. I have to kill these wizards up here. Are those some kind of alligator slugs? Who's gone? I tried some cloud naming gaming, by the way, and it looks okay, but the input lag is really bad, makes harder games like this unplayable. That's not worth it. Just buy it. Give me your shit. Okay, go here and repair my weapons and wrap this up.
Welcome home, good hunter. I must have drifted off. What is it you desire? Very well, let me...
I don't know if I have enough points. I don't. I need 230 to level up. It's okay.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
She's this game's waifu. Every Soulsborne game has a waifu in it that levels you up. Alright, let's repair the weapons. Let's see if I can fortify anything, because I did find some stuff. So I have this uncanny threaded cane, +8. I like the threaded cane. I'm currently rocking one. This is what I started the game with, actually, when I first played. It's not here, because it's already been leveled up to +10, and that's the max. But, I guess uncanny weapons, I found this one in the Chalice dungeon. They're better than the regular versions, so I figure I'll upgrade my this uncanny threaded cane and then rock that once I get it to +10. I also have been investing in some other weapons. The Kirk hammer I did early on, it's not really for me, but the Blades of Mercy, or Blade of Mercy, I heard was really good, so I upgraded that some. I also like the Rider Palash and the Chikage. I also heard I should upgrade that one, and the Whirligig Saw is pretty damn good on certain bosses, so I upgraded that one as well. But anyhow, I'm going to put it on the Uncanny Threaded Cane, I think, so let's do that. Okay, now I just need a Blood Rock to make that +9. Dark Souls did not. Oh yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, technically there's a Firekeeper. She doesn't level you up, but there are waifus in Dark Souls 1. They're just not. They don't level you up. Guinevere, if you know, ignore the fact that she's just an illusion, she's probably like god tier, goddess tier. But yeah, you're right. Dark Souls 1, you did it at the bonfire. But there was like the Maiden in Black in Demon Souls, the Emerald Herald in Dark Souls 2, the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 3, and the doll in Bloodborne. All games should have waifus. I won't play Doom because there's no waifu. Yes, there is. Doom has a waifu. It's the con maker. Anyway, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Gwendolyn Best Trap. I'm gonna wrap it up here and try to get on with life. And yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe I'll record something for this story. But I have some other shit I gotta do, so thanks guys for coming on. I'm gonna go to the title screen. The desire to keep playing is strong, but I'm not going to. Thanks guys for coming on the show and hanging out while I just have my morning coffee and get some things off my chest. Yeah, like I said, this is all, we have a serious lack of masculine virtues, and that's where we're headed. That's why we are where we are. We need more order, and there's just too much chaos. So, and the problem is that no one values masculine virtues. So, with that said, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, have a good day. Stay safe.